Welcome to the big bad final level, which is really just a boss rush until you get to Mr. X himself. Of course there are some dining trays that run down the hallway at you, but I wouldn't really count on those providing much challenge. Sadly, the fights with normal enemies between the bosses in this level are also rather underwhelming. Probably because nothing can really top the elevator stage we just went through in terms of enemy formations. The bosses themselves are fine, boss rushes are fine, but all the enemies leading up to them are really just filler because they're not even hard to deal with. So, what we're going to do for this level, and only this level of course, is skip to the bosses and ignore everything in between them. So I'll see you guys at the fight with Antonio. Welcome to the boss battle against New Antonio. One could say he's very similar to old Antonio, perhaps even identical, and thus our strategy for fighting him is also identical. I think Antonio was a pretty good first boss because he has a very recognizable pattern. He walks up to you, throws his boomerang or kicks you, and then he tries to walk around you like the Garcias, except in a much more robotic fashion so you can see him coming easier. And of course, I'm pretty sure the idea is to cut him off if you're playing as one of the faster characters, at least that's what I always did. But with Adam, you can just wait in the top. Alright, let's move on. We got a lot of other bosses to cover again. Hey look, it's Souther, that guy that introduced me to beat-em-up game design, and appropriately did so while I was playing as Adam. Because Adam's greatest asset, as we discussed, is his jump kick, and that just doesn't work on Souther. But yeah, never before I encountered Souther did I actually consider that beat-em-ups had a third dimension for a reason. You could call me a slow learner, but you can also thank Streets of Rage for eventually teaching me that. Alright, let's move on to the next one. And it's Wrestler Man again, but I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. I don't care how many people tell me how it's pronounced, I'm not even going to try. I wish I could put a heartfelt sentiment here, like telling me he taught me how to cheese, but it was Final Fight that taught me how to do that, because that game is brutal. All this boss taught me was that Adam's leg is ridiculously long, and that all the other characters suck. At least that's what I thought when I played this game the first time. And here's Big Ben, where I learned that all the other characters don't suck, and Adam has some serious disadvantages, one of those being that, of course, he doesn't move very fast. You can see here that I failed the initial dance with Big Ben, so it looks like I'm in trouble, but thankfully Adam's leg can even solve this issue. It's possible to hit Big Ben in the head before his fire touches you, because Adam's leg is just that ridiculous. So do not fear if you fail the initial encounter, though the backup plan is rather difficult. Welcome to Mona and Lisa again, and yes, I did lose another life on the way here, and that's because I got completely destroyed by several Hakuyos. They use that machine gun kick that I mentioned way earlier. Don't underestimate that attack. So, it seems I had forgotten since my last encounter with Mona and Lisa that the bottom right corner is the ideal corner. But this is still the easiest way I've found to fight them. I probably could have preserved a few lives if I would have used the other corner still. When you're playing as Axel or Blaze, of course, you can actually manage to outmaneuver these two, but with Adam, that's not really an option. So knocking them out of the air becomes your next best bet. And I would have gotten away with it too if my fingers pressed the right buttons at all times. But sadly, they don't. As a side note, you're incapable of using your screen-clearing attack in this level, and I understand why they did that, but also would have been very hilarious. I mean, they managed to shoot their bazooka around the building when we were climbing the tower with the elevator, so I'm not sure why they couldn't find a way to get the car inside. That seems way less impressive than curving your bazooka. Anyway, after this boss is over, we just have to kill 2 more Garcias, and then we can finally come face to face with Mr. X. And I do manage to beat the game without using a continue, of course. If I manage to lose all 5 lives on Mr. X, that would be kind of terrible. That being said, I still absolutely get my ass kicked, so don't set your expectations too high. So the biggest issue I've always had with Mr. X is when he runs up to you and just smacks you with his gun, because oh boy does he move fast. I managed to get a few good successive hits in, and I managed to suplex the Garcia into him a couple of times, but he still annihilates me with that gun. Not by shooting it, but you know, just smacking me over the head with it. So what could I have done to fix this? Well, simply put, I could have just used the jump attack more. It's also in my best interest to make my jump attacks last as long as possible, because timing is everything. It takes a short period for Mr. X to get back up again, so I can't jump attack immediately after he falls down, but I have to jump attack pretty quickly regardless. And I die more times from not jump attacking quickly enough. All you really have to do is be in the air when he charges at you, which may not sound that difficult, but it would help if I didn't forget the Garcias were here too. Thankfully, as for his machine gun, you can see that's easily countered. You can kick the bullets out of the air or just jump over them. I can say with confidence that I still find him way easier than any of Final Fight's bosses.